when you find yourself making excuses, then your visualization hasn't stuck yet, right?
Correct.
And so how do you get past that, Mike?
You can make excuses or you can get shit done, but you can't do both.
The business outlaws. You know that we winning. You know that we're winning. We fight for the cause. We fight for the cause. A circle of winners. A circle of winners. We're business outlaws. We're business outlaws. You know that we winning. We fight for the cause. A circle of winners. We're business outlaws. We're business outlaws. We're business outlaws.
All right, guys, welcome to Business Outlaws. We are inviting the audience to listen in on the business strategy conversations happening behind closed doors. Think of it as like a fly on the wall, insider trade information, the conversations of self-made leaders that are breaking the rules or norms of average performance in business and life.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good
You're welcome on that one. Thank you. On this episode, it's mind trash. We're taking out the trash, if you will, of your mind. Yeah.
It's what's holding you back.
Not like in a dirty way, not like trash.
It's
like,
what
Who
holds
said a
everyone
dirty way?
back.
you know what I mean? Like
Only you said dirty
mind
way.
trash. I'm a kind of a pervert, sorry. So yeah, what's setting you back? How can we take out the garbage in your brain?
I would say that this is the number one
Oh yeah.
thing, which is why it's one of our first topics.
Yeah.
Because it's what
Like
we see.
if you don't get this, is what people don't understand. You can learn all the marketing, business, all this stuff. You don't have the right mindset, you will fail. Our society is set up to program us for defeat, actually. All the shit that we're told when we're growing up and stuff. And it does affect us.
Yeah.
It's not only other people's stuff, but our own stuff as well.
and it's set up to make us average. To be part of the consensus, right?
Correct.
You don't want to be doing too well because then people will be like, oh, you think you're so cool. But you don't want to be doing not enough, so then you feel bad about yourself. There's
The
always
tall
like,
poppy syndrome.
Yeah.
The what?
Tall poppy syndrome. So this is mostly like in northern European countries, Sweden, Norway. If you do too good, your neighbors will start complaining to you that you're doing too good. So I talking to this one lady, one of these mastermind groups that we were in, and she goes, "Hey, I have a cafe, and I decided to open up another cafe on the other side of town." People came up to me and went, "Who do you think you are? You don't make enough money with one cafe. You need to have two." Mm-hmm. Like, what the fuck is that? That is like, I don't want to live in that society. Sorry.
Well, people are haters. People want to make sure that they feel like they're the ones on top. And instead of people who are on top helping other people be on top, they just sit back and they're like, oh, well, you're doing better than me. Well, I don't like you. And who you think you are. It's all judgment. It's all mind trash.
Yeah.
Basically.
So I think we should talk about how to handle haters, but we should start with your self-image, because that is what reverberates your results more than anything else, is how you see yourself. And then how you feel about yourself determines how you act and
Sure.
your goals and
Who you
everything.
attract.
So a lot of times with people, their goals are small because that's the image they have of themselves, right?
Right.
Correct. Or they've been told so and they believe it. Just have to change that belief system.
Yeah.
That's actually a lot harder than it sounds.
So if I know there's this old analogy that everybody has the same 24 hours in a day.
As Beyonce.
Every motivational speaker says that. As Beyonce.
It's a meme that goes around. Every girl is like, everybody has the same 24 hours as Beyonce, or Oprah or whatever. It's like
And the message in that is to be Beyonce?
I think the message in that is to like work hard and be like, look at all she does in a 24-hour day. Same, it could be a Big Mike thing. Look, you same 24 hours as Big Mike. But like, what the fuck
Chris
are you
thing.
doing with your life?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like the image is they work hard, they're successful, you want to be them. What the fuck are you doing with your life? So you're like, oh yes, I'm gonna be Oprah. I can do that. I like the self-motivation, but I think the Beyonce one's a little like cheesy for a girl. You're like, I can be Beyonce.
But I would guess that Beyonce doesn't think that.
No, but there's someone. I'm sure-
Beyonce's self-image is that she expects to do the hard work and be that busy because her image of herself is to be that successful.
Right.
Right?
And Beyonce's never like, you have the same 24 hours as Beyonce. 'Cause to her, she's like, everybody has self-doubt. Everyone's like, I could be doing more. I ain't shit at this or whatever. So Beyonce has someone that she looks up to or tries to model herself over. So it's a domino effect. Everybody has that person where you're like, that's a vision of success to me.
Yeah, but you really don't know what they are thinking when they're alone.
Exactly.
And that's the difference. And that's what you have to deal with. The people who become really successful in life are the ones who are able to move past that and compartmentalize it or whatever you have to deal with it. In my case, I have a therapist, and he knows this is a smart dude. And he just deals with high performance people and athletes and celebrities, actually. And so, and it comes, and here's what it boils down to. Self-love. Like everyone's issue about themselves pretty much comes from childhood.
Right.
It comes from mommy issues, daddy issues, bullying, sexual abuse. Those are like the big four. Yeah. And you have to deal with all that kind of stuff because you won't think that you're good enough. And it gets pretty deep. However, you have to unravel those things because as you become more and more, successful in life, you're going to have more shit come at you. It's not less. It's more.
Right.
And it just keeps coming at you in different directions. And you have to be able to discern like what's important, what's not, and not listen to the naysayers because they're naysayers. Like they didn't accomplish anything.
Yeah.
So listen to people who've accomplished. They definitely have a different mindset than the normal person. Absolutely. And it took me a long time, and I'm still working on it today.
You will forever.
Yeah.
It's never going to go away. And that's also a motivation.
Yep.
You're like, oh, you think I ain't shit? Okay, well, I'll prove you wrong.
Well, you know what happens. There's an organization called Artists for Addicts, and I'm a member of this, and it's one of our mastermind, and Chris is part of that as well. And their thing is, it shows the Hollywood Walk of Fame star. It's in my home, but it's black. And it shows there's, I don't know, like probably 50 or 60 different celebrities that all died. What they don't realize is that star on the Walk of Fame, if you're not mentally prepared for it, is a death sentence for you because all those people died of drug overdoses. And the reason why they did was they were escaping some kind of pain in any which way, and they weren't able to deal with it.
Yeah.
And that's what people really don't realize is unless you're prepared for celebrity and you understand what's involved, it's going to mind fuck you like you wouldn't believe because what happens as a celebrity is not normal human behavior.
Right.
And you have to deal with that.
Yeah, I like that.
Which actually is a conversation that we had recently that you were giving me a little advice on because I've had some things happen and I don't necessarily.
Bro, you had all kinds of opportunities and shit happen like you you have no idea. And he's just really hard-headed, and it's for a certain reason. I won't get into it unless he wants to. But
let's get into it.
That's it.
But
I had to deal with the same shit too. So that's how I know.
Yeah, but watching you deal with it is what people don't understand how hard it is. So we were talking about being famous, and so like I've been offered that reality show a bunch of times, fixing businesses.
Listen, not just one, a whole shit ton of business he's been offered. He turns them all down.
Why do you turn them down, though?
It's a fear of not wanting to be that famous and recognized. So, like when you go somewhere with Big Mike,
isn't that mind trash? Though?
There's nowhere you go where people don't know who he is.
Right.
I can disappear into the thing. So Mike's advice to me actually was, no, you're going to do it. But he said, you can just shave off the beard. And
I was just about to say, shave your face.
In his case, he can. Yeah, absolutely.
You can disappear.
Put on a hat, sunglasses, and just go off into oblivion if you want.
It's fair to live in fear for yourself? Like, don't you feel like you're holding yourself back because you're afraid of what that might turn into?
I think the fame thing, like when you're in business, like Mike and I are, you can be successful to a degree without being famous. Right. And I've watched Mike become famous, and there's a lot of extra work that comes with it, and a lot of isolation.
Sure.
Like you become, like your whole life becomes very open.
Yeah.
And privacy is a different thing. And so there's a lot of choices there to be made. But I think at the end of the day, if you're super driven and wanting to be successful, you end up making that choice either way, right?
Correct.
Right.
And you have to deal with the consequences of that and the actions of it.
Yeah.
Prepare yourself for it.
Right.
But sometimes you can't. Sometimes you actually, once you're in it, you go, oh shit, I got to extricate myself from this. I need an outside, advice from somebody.
But I would say the thing that I think we've learned about that is that, like, I don't know, it was a couple weeks ago when I sent Mike a text. I'm like, bro, I need to talk. I need some mic time. Yeah. And, I wanted to talk about that because he's the one person in the world that will tell me the truth, And I think the thing that I realized from that, more than his good advice and all that, is that both of us go into that knowing that there's a price to pay. And I think a lot of people go into that and get surprised that it's more work.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah,
Your life
does.
doesn't get easier.
People think, like they see celebrity and they don't understand, how that is. There's a process to it. There's actually a formula to that. And they think it's just going to be all great.
Right.
And it's the same mindset with millionaires who, when they win the lottery, they become millionaires from winning the lottery. And most of them all, like probably most, I think all of them have gone broke. And the reason why they go broke is because their subconscious brain is looking for homeostasis. They're looking for equilibrium. They go back. Everyone starts treating you different when you have money. Like they really do. Everybody does. Everybody does. And so they become uncomfortable. Instead of going out and finding new friends who have money and can tell them how to invest it wisely and make more money, they hang with their friends and they piss it all away. And finally, when all the money's gone, they go, hey, we had a great party and hey, whew. And their brain goes, hey, I'm just like my friends now and I'm happy.
Right.
And that's the same mechanism.
I see it too as like trust.
It's
like
self-destructing.
You have a certain name for yourself. You make a certain amount of dollars. You have a certain amount of commas in your bank account. Then it's like, are you my friend? Can I really trust you? Or when times get tough, you're not really there for me. You're only good time Sally. Or it's like, are you saying one thing to my face, behind my back, you're like, oh. Like I think trusting someone and really feeling like they're there for you, or there's an ulterior motive. That's the biggest thing for me.
That's why I have friends that are still my friends that knew me when I was just running around the fields with cops chasing me growing weed. So there you go.
Exactly. And everyone that works for Advanced Nutrients is on your team.
Yeah.
I host for Advanced Nutrients as well. And seeing everybody on the same respect level is really cool because that's hard to find, especially when you get to a certain level.
That's a culture he's created, right?
Absolutely.
Correct,
By not tolerating
bullshit
it and encouraging it, right? At the same time, there's a formula to that, which is probably another episode.
That is. That's a culture episode.
So, so the self-image thing in the head trash starts with you. If you are in a place as an entrepreneur where you're not succeeding and you're not living up to your full potential, would you say the first recipe is to stop following the pack? Because the pack's trying to make you average.
Correct.
And so most of the advice you're going to get is wrong.
Well, I'm going to interrupt you there because earlier you said that you didn't want to do that because you were like afraid of what it was. So you basically kept yourself at a certain level because you were afraid of getting bigger. So you were trying to stay with the pack. Right.
Well, I don't think
pack.
I don't think I necessarily thought it was keeping me from getting to a different level. I just think the other level is harder without celebrity, but you can still get there.
Right.
It is.
What were you afraid of? What was your fear?
I get really uncomfortable getting recognized, and like I get uncomfortable when I'm with people and they're nervous because I'm there, like they're shaking because they're meeting me.
Yeah.
And I'm always like, I'm just like you. Like I never understand when people meet celebrities why they get nervous. I always think like I want to know what their strategy was.
Yep.
They just did something and they learned something and they worked really hard at something. But I never think they got lucky, which I think is a mistake. Most people think, oh, they got lucky. So I don't know. It's that that whole thing is weird. And I know it's weird for, Mike too, because at the end of the day, I think both of us want to help people. And when there's that weird fame thing, it makes things weird. People's expectations are different.
And do what you guys love. You want to do what you guys love. And it just so happens that those things happen.
Yeah. And so the advice that you get from most people is trying to make you average. So you have to start paying attention a lot more to the results and a lot less to the noise and the feelings. So when you look at somebody, like say, for example, you're looking at somebody who's really successful, pay attention to their results. Not most people say they got lucky or they were in the right place at the right time. Like the phrases that will keep you from succeeding are right place, right time, lucky. That maybe happens, but it only happens once you get by the fact that you're waiting for that to happen. The rich get richer for sure. Yeah. You're going to get lucky the more successful you are, but it isn't going to happen if you're pretending that you're waiting for that.
If you want to find out just how much head trash you are, sit down and talk to really successful people.
Yeah.
And listen to like a real conversation. And then you realize, okay, there's different belief systems here that are working. And so one of the first things that Chris said is you need to hang around, more people who are super, super high net worth individuals, because I can guarantee you they're going to think differently.
Yeah.
And I did. And they do. And way differently, as a matter of fact.
I think the annoying thing too is people who have known you for a while who weren't really a support system for you. Not like they were friends, but people you knew. Like I'm from Dallas, Texas originally. And when I did my first, I'm a TV host. And when I did my first network show,
we can't tell, Jamie.
What?
We can't tell.
And I'm from Texas?
No,
Are you a Cowboys fan?
You're a TV host. Because you're so good at what you do. That's like when the first time she's interviewing, I just looked at her like, how do you know all this stuff to ask and stuff? She goes, I don't know. Just been doing
part
it for
of
a
my
while.
soul, I guess.
Oh, I know.
But when I remember the first time I went home, my show was on TV, and I remember I went out to a bar with some friends to celebrate, and I flew home with my dad, whatever, and some people came up to me who I weren't that close with. They're like, "Oh, you think you're so fucking cool? You're on TV like Miss Hollywood." And I'm like, "That's some fucked up shit. Like, there's no support there. You're not like, damn, you fucking worked your ass off and did it." They're like, you think you're fucking cool, fucking Hollywood." I'm like, fuck you. Like, support me. You're either with me or you're against me.
But what are they really saying?
They're jealous that they're not moving out of Texas and doing their thing.
Or jealous, or they're just uncomfortable with it because you made something and they don't feel like maybe they did. That's their
That's what I mean by
inner.
jealous.
It's their head trash.
That's what I mean.
It's called white noise. So one of the things that we'll call white male is we don't look at all the negative stuff. Like I tell everybody, keep that shit away from me. I don't want to see it, because it's just people who just really want to harm you, and just because they're unhappy or whatever the reason is, you just don't see it. Now, if someone has a legitimate like beef, that's different. This is just people just being just mean spirited. Just, you don't want to see that stuff. It will get inside your head. So I just like cut it all out because it helps me stay focused. I don't need distractions.
Yeah. Misery loves company.
Yeah.
And what I mean by jealous, I don't think that they're like, I wish I were you. I think that they feel jealous. Like, I wish I had enough intuition and motivation to do something that I wanted to do and proceed it, So I think that when they say shit like that, I'm like, you're just bummed that you're not working your ass off and doing something different.
And to that point, though, I think too is like, it always amazes me when I'll sit with somebody and they're nervous, or same thing with Mike. Like, somebody will want to meet us, and they meet us, and then the questions they ask aren't relevant to the time and the access that they have. So somebody meets you, and they're not asking you how you did it or what it's like, or their automatic reaction is to dismiss it. They're missing the point. And I heard this great analogy about
a really good
Trump.
point. I like that.
And whether you like Trump or not, Dan Kennedy told the story about when he used to do those speaking tours where they would like get a celebrity. So they have like
Shamu.
Is that what it was?
No, he always called Shamu, and they would bring in like the president or Colin Powell, and there's Shamu, and they would always look at Kennedy and wonder like how he got on stage and sold all that stuff, but they brought Shamu to bring in the guys who
So I don't know if you remember, but they would do these stadium motivational days where they would pack a stadium. And Dan Kennedy did them because he's the only guy that would go on last and he could close the room. So like they would have like former President Bush come up and do a keynote at the end. And then he would leave and the people would think the event was over. And then Dan Kennedy would go up and he would do, 40 minutes and pitch some sort of product that they would buy.
Yeah.
And so Dan Kennedy said he did those for, 5 years or whatever it was, but he did a ton of them and they would simulcast them and they were kind of a big deal.
Yeah.
And he said that there's, so you do that and the ticket to that was like $50. So that if people are paying $50 to get in there, the $50 is barely covering the arena.
Sure.
Presidents, all kinds of industry leaders came and they were the keynote. And only one guy said, and all the time he did it, came in and walked into the room backstage and goes, okay, how are you guys monetizing this? And that was Donald Trump. He goes, where's the money? He didn't judge it. He didn't take it for granted. He's like, how are you guys charging that and making money?
Yeah.
And so Dan's like, well, we're selling from the stage and like the product, like if they wouldn't have sold products from the stage, the thing wouldn't have been profitable. Right. But Trump was the one guy that knew to ask, how are you guys monetizing this? Like, where's the money flow?
That's because his brain is business.
That's a whole nother.
Well,
that's a show
it's
right
because
there.
his brain is success.
Like-
in a way, he wants to figure out the strategy. And so the thing that one thing that Mike says over and over again is it's all about the strategy. But you can't get to the strategy until you get past your ego. And so you could be sitting with Mike. And you could say, well, he's in weed, or you could say, oh, he was lucky, or you could make up all the things that people make up.
Right.
But the really smart business people, or people that are driven to succeed, will put that aside and they'll be like, how did you do it? And they'll ask relevant questions and listen, and they'll follow the results. And Trump was trying to figure out where the results were and where the pattern was. And I think that's the thing, is when your ego is attached enough to wanting to be successful, you let the trying to justify it and the insecurities go, and you start trying to figure out the strategy, because the strategy is where the magic is, right?
Correct.
I like that.
Yeah. It's the back end. People look at the front end, but they don't really look at the back end, and the back end's where the strategy's applied and money's made.
Yeah.
There's a lot of things out there that people will just go, my God, really? That's really the business that they're in?
Yeah.
Just go, yep.
Yeah, and there's a lot of guys that you look at that appear successful, and they're barely making it.
Yeah.
Because they can put the image on, but they don't have the back end. So they're on a hamster wheel and they're working really hard, but they're not making money on the back.
And the best strategist to figure out a place to pull money where no one else saw it. And because of that, they have no competition. Because you would never figure out the business model. Never figure it out.
But how does the head trash in your inner ego and your self-esteem and how you see yourself, how do you get past that in order to start paying attention to the strategy and connecting the dots?
Making a movie in your head. Differently.
Visualization.
A hardcore visualization that you just like literally look at it, think of it as a TV set, the picture, and you got two knobs, one for contrast and one for color, and make it as sharp and crystal clear as you can, and run it over and over and over in your head. And that's a big one.
And so
and also to love yourself, to learn to love yourself.
Yeah.
This is the huge one. For most people, is learning to love yourself more.
Acceptance of yourself.
Acceptance, not thinking that you're not enough. All this stuff. We're all human.
Yeah.
That's what people have to realize. And if you're human, you can do anything as long as you have at least a normal amount of intelligence. It's the sky's the limit.
Yeah.
It really is.
You have to be comfortable with yourself. Like you have to, like when you're alone and there's no TV on, there's no cell phones going off, and it's just you. You have to be comfortable in your own skin and comfortable with your thoughts and comfortable with your like game plan. And I feel like that's one thing that you've mastered.
You have to be comfortable in your own skin.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're like, take it or leave it. This is me. I'm gonna put my fucking face on a Ferrari. This is me.
Yep.
You're either with me or you're not. Later, I think it's that not searching for acceptance. It's searching for like self-acceptance.
So for anybody listening to this that doesn't know, Mike has a Ferrari with his face on the hood, covered in weed leaves.
And it will be wrapped pretty soon in something else. But
No, it's good advertising.
Dun, dun, dun. I do also want to side note that Mike is smoking out of a cupcake bong.
Yes, I am.
So
Very masculine.
nothing is more self-love than a cupcake.
that's right. Super Silver Haze.
It has sprinkles in there, a cherry
and
on
up high,
top.
and hopefully it makes me a little more creative.
I like that.
And so what you're kind of saying is authentic? Becoming authentic?
Yeah, but accepting your authentic self. I
Oh,
feel like
hey, that's good.
Yeah.
That's really, really good.
I feel like
because the two go hand in hand for
Yeah.
sure. And when you do, it's like cracking the code.
Yeah, when people are hard on themselves and they're like, "Oh, I want to be like this or like that," you're not accepting who you are. And I feel like if that's who you are, that's who you are. And accept it. And then other people will be like, they'll buy into what you're selling. They're like, "Oh, I believe him because he believes him. He believes him."
Right.
Don't you think people have a really good BS detector? Like, I've read the stat that like guys will give you 40 seconds and girls will give you like 7 seconds before they make a judgment.
Yeah.
But if you're not authentic, that detector goes off and then you kind of lose people.
Yeah.
Would you agree with that?
Authenticity is huge, and it's used lightly with all around the place. I don't think people really understand what it is to be yourself. It takes some balls actually to do that. And when I made
Because
that
society's trying to tell you to be something else.
shift, after I had my near-death experience and whatever, I died. I just looked at the world entirely different, and it
You
opened
had
up.
to.
And it, you know what? It was the biggest game changer in my life. It's
Yeah.
just tell it like it is.
For me, it was shaving my back. Like society tells you that you shouldn't have a hairy back.
You shaved it
And
or
then I was
Missy
like,
shaved it?
forget it. No, I'm gonna have a hairy back. I'm just
But
gonna
who
walk around
actually
the
shaved
pool.
it? Missy shaved
Well, you
it.
went. I would get waxed. I think.
Yeah, you got
That's
your
painful.
Whole,
Have you
your
ever
whole-
done that?
I've never had my back waxed. I've had things
It's
waxed.
terrible.
I have. I do waxing all the time. I call it plucking. I get a
See,
plucking.
I was like, I'm gonna be authentic. I'm not just gonna
Yeah.
let it go.
And how do you feel? Do you feel more
I
aerodynamic?
feel like a rug.
Yeah, you feel like
An
a rug.
Afghan rug. No, but I think that's part of it is you almost, especially in society today, that there's so many opinions and like this like narrative of what men should be.
Right.
And
There's a lot of
it's
narratives
counter
out
to
there. Yeah.
what I believe I was born to be. Like I kind of like think like I was born to wake up and hunt and kill stuff.
You kind of
and then
look like a
bring it home.
caveman with that beard.
Yeah, right. But the world would tell you, well, you don't want to hunt. You kind of want to get along, or like there's
Yeah.
just an element of I think there's a lot of people sitting around waiting for permission to go hunt, and so there's a certain liberation
Permission.
to
I like that.
becoming authentic and realizing like, hey, I'm a go-getter, and I'm maybe everybody isn't gonna like what I do, but I'm gonna provide value to the world, and as long as your ethics and your intentions are pure, that's permission that I think a lot of people are waiting for.
I think too, women are being more independent, which I totally support and I love. But I also think it fucks with men being men and independent. Like I heard of some girl the other day. She was like, I don't like guys to open my door. Like I can do it myself. And I'm like, but like, I don't agree with that because if some guy opens the door for me, I'm always like, thank you so much. Like I feel like a lady. That's so sweet. You are taking charge. You are the man. And I feel like nowadays women are so like, I'm a feminist. I don't shave my armpits. Don't open the door for me. Fuck you. It's just like, calm down. Like there's a fine balance, but I feel like that takes away a lot of men's like machismo, like that take charge. Like I'm gonna take care of my lady and my life and my this. You know, does that make sense? Do you guys agree with that?
Well,
Yeah.
life also comes down to choices. I wouldn't necessarily want to date a woman like that.
Right.
Because
Yeah, but the guy who
That'd be
they
fun.
might want to date, there's a guy out there for that. I
Sure.
Oh,
think,
absolutely
like-
is. Oh, yeah.
Sure.
So I think too that's the other thing is like when you become more authentic, you attract that partner
Yeah.
that you want. But I find with women leaders when I'm coaching them is the thing that they think more than anything is, well, I'm not a man. And so I don't know, sometimes in business, it's a man's world, like it or not, it is.
Right.
And so there's 20 men executives and there's one female and they're like, well, I got to be more of a bitch. That's
Yeah.
what they'll say. And I'll be like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Calm down.
Like,
Yeah.
no, you got to be more of yourself. Like, you're actually being the only woman is a huge advantage if you stop thinking that you're trying to be them.
And that's going back to authenticity. They're not being them authentic selves. Like, you know what? I'm a female. I'm gentle. I'm kind. This is who I am. I'm smart though. So take it me or not. Instead, they're like, well, I'm going to puff up my chest and I'm going to like bulk up my arms. And then they try to compete, but it's not the same.
And the thing that I think in that people don't realize is that there's 5 ways to get to an end result. And so when you become authentic, you don't have to be the bitch to do it. You just have to start paying attention to the strategy. Back to the Trump analogy is if you start being yourself and whether you're a female or male or whatever the situation is, if you start paying attention to the results and the right thing and get the feelings behind you and you change your self-image that you can be the best you, then it becomes the world kind of attracts it to you, right?
Right.
Yes.
And so I think you have to visualize
It's like a boomerang.
until you believe it. And so if you visualize and then you wake up and then through the course of the day, you've made an excuse that, well, I'm not lucky or I don't have this resource or I don't have that. You haven't visualized it enough.
And you make an excuse to make yourself feel better for not working hard.
You're not there yet. You need to go back and visualize some more because
Yeah.
you have to accept the fact that it's going to be hard.
Yeah.
Like there's nobody who's ever been successful that didn't. I mean, I don't know, every great story of the hero's journey, there was a big, huge failure right before the finish line.
Mm-hmm.
You almost have to expect that. It's happened since the beginning of time.
Hey, I've been bankrupt twice.
Yeah.
Yeah. Personally once, business once. When I was in my early 20s. However, I've been on food stamps too. Like, seriously, like, you expect failure. Success is a progressive realization of where they go. Napoleon Hill said that. It literally is. It's just, you don't give up. It's the same thing will make champions, right? Determination and discipline. Same thing.
Success is a reward, not a goal. I read that in a book, and I was like, I like that. Like, your reward for hard work is success. It shouldn't be the goal, because you'll always fail if you're focused. If you're missing all of the meat and you're going straight for the skin, then you're going to miss the biggest part. It's the reward.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah.
And so when you find yourself making excuses, then your visualization hasn't stuck yet, right?
Correct.
And so how do you get past that, Mike?
You can make excuses, or you can get shit done, but you can't do both.
I like that.
That's true.
Okay, then the next thing in that, I think that I've realized this a lot lately, is that people who are really successful process success and failure kind of the same. So,
man, look, all like guys that I've been hanging around, they all love problems. They go, ooh, big problem, big opportunity. Chinese coin, crisis and opportunity, same symbol. They really look at it because they're willing to go and figure out the things that normal people don't want to, and they actually enjoy it because it's like a freaking puzzle to them, and they're just playing a game. They're just figuring out the pieces of the puzzle to do that. And once they unblock that thing and no one else has been able to do that, wow, they have IP and all kinds of other great things happen, and the business grows, and they're really successful, and people like can't really figure it out because they didn't see what they did, what they really did.
Yeah.
So the process that I've come up with lately is just trying to analyze how I see it is when I succeed at something, I never like really celebrate it. I don't know. Maybe I need to get better at that, but I always think like, is it scalable? And did I get lucky, or did it work because of something I did? If it was something I did, now I have something in my toolbox. Right. If I fail at something, it's the same approach. What is it that I did wrong? How do I change it and try again? It's just, they're winning or losing don't really have, if you're moving forward constantly, winning or losing don't really have an effect on the end outcome, where I think both of them make people stop most of the time. People get a little win, they stop, they want to celebrate. Oh, hey, I'm so great. When what did you learn? Like, is it scalable? Can you do it again? Can you do it bigger? Yeah. And so to me, that's kind of the recipe, is it's always moving forward, and neither one of them are bad or good. It's just part of the process.
I think it's big to be proud on yourself, like to be like, damn, I did that. I did that. Nobody like held my hand or gave that to me for free. I did that. Way to go, me. And then just keep it moving. Like, I think stopping and being like, let's celebrate. Let's do this. It's like, okay, cool. But is that your end goals? Are you celebrating because this is where you want to be? Or are you celebrating because you're like, okay, like I don't want to work too much harder right now. Like, I'm going to celebrate this. Or are you just proud of yourself and you keep on going to the next thing?
And that's kind of, I think too, that's a disease that most successful people have, is it's never enough.
Yeah.
There's never a point. Curse. Yeah. There's never a point where you're like, okay, I won life. You're never going to put your feet up and go, I won life. Cause then what?
You think Mike gets on his private jet and he's like, I'm going to take a nap? No.
No, he's going, he's emailing somebody. He's asking somebody something else. And
he's signing
he's working.
Something.
Yeah.
Shooting a video. They love to get me on and shoot videos there because I'm kind of like a captive audience for however many hours.
Yeah, he's trapped.
Strapped in. Yeah.
It's a good time to ask him questions. I know that.
Yeah.
It is.
Yeah. So how do you look at that, winning and losing?
Well, there's definitely winners and losers in life, okay? Not everybody wins, and you have to be clear about that. But there's a good way about going and doing it in a cool way and a douchey way. So as long as you do it in a cool way and you do the right thing at the end of the day and make society better in some way, that's what I'm about.
And yourself. Like you've made yourself better because you died on the
I'm still doing, but I'm still doing it. Like, I don't stop. It's just, I'm a work in progress for the rest of my life. I understand that. Yeah. In many different levels.
But that's a trait that you learn of people successful, is they've never arrived, right?
Yeah.
It's always,
they say it's a journey. I used to say bullshit to that, but actually, looking back, all the fun and stuff, it actually is the journey.
Yeah.
Okay. So when we go from somebody who's just starting out, they're sleeping on their mom's couch.
Yeah.
They've just had a big failure and they're trying to regroup, to somebody who's a billionaire and they want to have 5 billion. there are levels of mindsets and self-image that you go through that process.
Absolutely.
And so what level of income is each step, do you think? At $1 million is one, right?
1, 5, 10, 25, 50. People told me they're like, these are the ceilings. And in my case, I didn't hit a ceiling till 50.
50 million?
Yeah, 50 million a year. And it's just like, that was a motherfucker of a ceiling to crack through. And we finally cracked it.
How long did it take?
Gone a couple of years to crack that one. Yeah.
Yeah, and so just that in and of itself is a lesson, right? There's no magic. It took a couple years.
Yeah.
Like that's work.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw you go through that work, but it's work.
Yeah, it is.
And you have to reinvent yourself at every one of those levels too, right?
Yeah.
So you're changing your self-image every time.
Mm-hmm.
You almost
Well, it's an expectation. People expect
If you saw me
stuff.
10 years ago and looked at me now, you'd go, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, what a difference.
Well, there's a thing you have to live up to a little bit. People see that, know that, so they expect a certain kind of character about a person, you know, or like a way, like a swagger, or like people were like, oh, what does he have? This? Does he have that? Like, what is
See?
They're nosy. Yeah.
See, they expect that.
Yep.
And if you can't deliver it, the best celebrities, like entertainers, when they walk on that stage, they own it. I mean, and it's not easy to do what they do, to go out there and dress in the costumes that they do and act like, listen, I'm the coolest thing since, white on rice. Mm-hmm. Right? It takes guts to do that. And it's not as easy as it looks.
Yeah.
And people expect that.
Yeah.
They expect us to own it.
There was a book, I think, in the 70s. It was called The Peter Principle. Did you ever read that book? So the Peter Principle was a study that Stanford did. I think it was Stanford. That was that you will perform to your level of incompetence. And so people get to a certain level and then they plateau at that level because that's their incompetence. And I think the thing that I've seen is that everybody hits that level of incompetence, but the good ones reinvent themselves.
Correct.
And they change their self-image to become the person at the next level.
You have to. You have to look and only tell it's like an escalator ride. You're on that escalator, and when you go up, you get to see the next level, a little more clear, and you realize you have to. It's your choice to either to go there or to not. And so it's a decision you have to make. And some people just aren't equipped to make that decision. Because
they're hard decisions to make. It's friends. It's, there's a lot of compromises.
It's a domino effect.
Yeah. A lot of sacrifices you have to make, right?
Yep. You have to leave, there's negative people and there's positive people. There's people that will move you forward and people who will try to hold you back or just not let you grow. And you have to get rid of those folks in your life. It's tough to do. But you just have to. And, you just do. It doesn't mean you have to give up as friends, but it's not going to be the same relationship. I have some friends from the past, and when we speak, it's a different conversation because I can see where their belief systems are versus where I am, and I help them along slowly.
And their insecurities, they put that onto you, and
I think an important thing to ask yourself about your belief system is your belief system something somebody told you and conditioned you? Like, did our school system or society and Fox News condition you that, or is it something you know firsthand?
Right.
Because usually what you learn firsthand is different than what everybody else is trying to get you to believe.
Right. And also with belief systems, you surround yourself with other successful people. So how do you do that? In my case, I joined a mastermind group because there are other successful business owners. And that really helped me and started molding my belief system into seeing what actually is possible. When you see someone else and you get to know them and you go, hey, this guy's not, or this girl's not as smart as, or as smart as I am, and they're doing 5 million or 10 million a year when you're first starting out, you're like, and then you get there very quickly and you just go, wow. It's not that hard.
Even on your path to be...
in the beginning, it's not that hard. And as you get more and more success, it becomes more difficult and more difficult.
Even on your path to becoming a billionaire, which you're pretty close to, but when you're hanging out with billionaires, I'll ask Mike, what's the difference? What do you learn? What's the difference between somebody who's a billionaire and 100 millionaire? Because there's very specific
I can
things.
tell you the difference.
But we're asking those questions.
Okay.
Right?
Yep.
And so we're not saying they got lucky or it was an industry they were in. We're like, what are the characteristics? What is their mindset? How do they approach things? What do they spend their time doing? What are their relationships? How is their wife interact? Because all of that plays into it.
Or how they are intimidating other people in that room. gazillion
like
dollars.
presence?
No, but I'm just saying if someone is next to Big Mike and he either has more money or less money, who's dominating who, or who's
It depends on the situation.
whose hierarchy, like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, it depends on the situation. But I do see some of that. I have to stay away from those people. But there's like, okay, so I hang around a lot of billionaires these days. So they're genuinely really nice people, and they don't play those type of games.
Yeah.
In fact, they won't even do business with you until they get to know you as a human being, because they understand you're going to be together with this person. So they want to see whether socially and, you know, intellectually you can hang. And if you can, then offers start coming and things start happening.
Right.
But they're all super strategic in ways that just would blow your mind, and you can't really figure out. This is a whole nother show, so I'm not going to get into it, but you'd never figure out the freaking, like, you would never see the back on how they make money.
Yeah.
But that's where the brilliance is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that's why the majority of people like to just say, oh, they got lucky, or they were in the right place, right time. They don't understand how people think strategic. People that are successful find the strategy, and then they get it to work. I mean, a big part of it's execution, and then they pour gasoline on it, right?
Correct. Yeah.
Once it's scalable, then they just pour gasoline on it and let it go.
Yeah.
But it's that first part that's hard. Okay, so in kind of wrapping it up or in closing, if there's a guy out there on his mom's couch and he's had a big failure and he wants to be successful, but he can't quite figure out the visualization thing, he's visualizing being successful. What is the recipe to really visualize? How often, how much, and what are you visualizing to become the best you?
Well, first, get a really clear picture of where it is the next step that you want to go. Always, if you can go to the goal, you can work it backwards and figure out the steps that you need. But I will tell that young man or woman, don't give up. Don't ever give up.
You're going to make me cry. You are going to make me cry. I also feel very inspired now.
No, it's a if you've been there, then you understand how hard it is, right?
Yeah.
Correct.
It's not easy. And usually you're very alone in that moment when you're trying to change your self-image.
Yeah.
Right.
You're very
and so
alone.
go and find someone who's really super successful and talk to that person.
Yeah, because
That's
that's
what
like
you
a
have to do.
breath of
You
fresh
have
air.
to break the mold in the people that you're around, because knowingly or unknowingly, they're going to hold you back. And you just have to be prepared for that.
Yeah, you have to love your authentic self.
And believe
Yeah.
in yourself.
Yeah, you have to invent yourself in a way like that. Actually, a good documentary to watch is Inventing David Geffen, because he says at the beginning of that, he goes, I invented this guy, David Geffen.
Yeah. I invented this guy you see in front of you.
Yeah.
This is a transformation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you then at every level, you kind of reinvent yourself.
Right.
So you got to visualize it first, and visualize it to the point that you taste it, smell it, and see it. So then when it does happen, it feels like you've already done it.
You believe it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's it.
You got
Did
me
you
to
learn
cry.
anything?
I did. I learned a lot. I feel very
I'm
inspired
like Barbara
right now.
Walters. I got
You are. It's like,
I know.
Look at
and
that power.
2020. I like it. No, this is good. I think it's good. I think it's nice to feel motivated and also feel like you're constantly, I mean, working hard. Like, he does not like, oh, I've reached this point, I'm going to just like chill. You know, like he's not hanging out by his pool, you know,
No.
doing nothing.
I think I've swam in that thing 3 times.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I think that you just have to constantly be working, constantly be pushing yourself and believe in yourself.
But he has visualized knocking that house down and building another one.
Yep.
Already?
Is the pool in the same place in the new house?
Sort of. But it's much bigger. It's an infinity pool. It goes straight over the San Fernando Valley.
See? He's been in that pool already in his head.
There you go. With his cupcake pipe.
One time. That's good.
Just one time. All right, guys. Well, I'm going to go like manifest some shit now. I don't know about you guys.
But listen, you act upon it.
Yeah.
Don't manifest. Once you're going to get the picture. I know you're going to get the picture.
Yeah.
Just take action on that. Just do it. Move one, and you train your subconscious brain, because that's the power center,
Yeah.
and it will go to work for you.
Vision boards, here I come. I'm gonna,
Visualize it to the point that you can't not take action.
Yeah.
Like you jump out of bed every morning.
yeah.
Like
I
you
love
got
that.
a cause bigger than you.
I hope everybody feels inspired like I did. I feel good. Everybody in this room too is nodding their heads and smiling. That's a good sign.
Oh, good.
Everybody, how do you guys feel?
I feel good.
Yeah.
I
What
feel,
are we
like,
gonna
I feel like I'm getting naked in front of my audience, but that's all right.
Put your shirt back on, Big Mike. Jesus
Put your
Christ. This is a family show. All right, guys, we're wrapping up Business Outlaws. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we hope you guys create some amazing, magical things. And you see Big Mike at a bazillionaire meeting and shake his hand, high five him. And yeah, don't listen to the trash in your mind. Don't listen to assholes who don't support you. Be your best friend. Love yourself. That's it. Chris Collins, Big Mike, Jamie Foxx, we're out this bitch.
There you go. Bye.